Where did the 113 come from gallery?
I believe that was the original address. We haven't always been in this location.
Okay.
And so when we moved, they kept the same name. I've been with the gallery for 7 years, I believe. And so that was before I joined. But yes,
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking, I know you don't have 113 co-ops in there.
no,
So it
we
can't be
don't. No, we have 18. So it used to be at 113 North Tejon.
Right.
Yeah,
Now we're 2025
right. Now we're at 125 North Tejon.
and move for a bigger space.
Yes, it's a nicer space than what they had originally.
that. Well, thank you for showing us around. That really was helpful and just a beautiful place. So now that you showed us Gallery 113 in general, and it features a diverse range of art forms, can you share a story about a particularly memorable piece or artist that exemplifies the gallery's commitment to showcasing local talent? Now, I know you have plenty of them, so it might be hard to pick out, but we love stories here in Colorado Springs Town Tidings. So if there's anything in particular that is just a great interaction you had with somebody, or somebody just came in and just fell in love, or something. Anything come to mind?
Well, we do get a lot of people that um, just love the gallery. I've got a customer from California who has contacted me. She'll say, I'm going to be in town again and I want more bobcats, you know, or just, and
Story.
Denise has a story, but I want to also mention that we just won gold for Best of the Springs in two categories. And
Nice.
maybe you could help her. Um, and yeah, so it is a favorite gallery of a lot of people. I mentioned it the other day, and there was a woman in here. I said, we just won gold, and for being Best of the Springs, the most. And she said, "Well, I know it's my favorite." So yeah. But Denise is
Yeah.
going to tell you something.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had
come on in into frame so I
Okay.
can see you. There you go.
I had a painting, I called it the South Fork Angler. My stepdad was a fly fisherman. And I really loved it. It's fisherman, and he's fishing and rocky and everything. And this woman came in and she wanted to know exactly where it was. She said, "You said the South Fork, of the Platte or wherever." And I was like, "Yeah." It's like, and she said, "It has to be that." She said her husband had just passed away and that was his favorite place to fish. And it just meant so much to her to have that painting. And I had just brought it in and it made me really happy. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
It's sometimes because we're only working 1 day a month here or 2 days a month. And so when someone comes in to buy your work and you're working that day, you get that wonderful connection of who is taking your work home and
Right.
where it's going. And you hear the stories about it, why it means something to them. And as an artist, that connection with the person who buys your work and why they love it is really important.
Right. That keeps you going. That story was just beautiful. And that is definitely divine intervention, or whatever you want to call it, because for you being there, for you just bringing that piece, and for her, specifically having it and coming into your gallery, there are no coincidences.
I
No,
agree.
I
That's
had something
absolutely.
similar one day. I haven't actually, I wasn't even working that day. I was in here and this guy bought a card of this. It's a photo that I call "Come Walk with Me." There's a little, um, it's a little trail through these aspen. And this guy, picked up a card with that picture. And I said, "Oh, well, thank you. That's one of mine." And he said, "It's one of yours?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, he said, "I came in one time and there was a small canvas of it." And he said, "It spoke so much to me." He said, "I had actually said that to my daughter. We were talking and he said something about, she had just said, 'Come walk with me.' And we saw that canvas. Can you hear me okay? There's some
I
back.
can. Yep.
Okay.
Good.
And he said, "I didn't buy it." And he said, I felt so bad. He said, later I came back, it was gone. And he said, you wouldn't have another of that. And I said, well, I have a larger canvas of that same. And he said, oh, yeah, I want to buy that. And but it's funny because he said the same thing. He said, I'm so glad I got to meet you. And I said, I work like 19 days a year. So, and he said, but he said, like what you said, he said, that's like it's meant to be. And so he did. He bought the large canvas of it, which made me happy.
Yeah.
But it's always nice when you feel like, because even my photographs, I feel like they're just part of my heart, And so many times, it's so funny because my husband has said before, I'll say, well, now I want to see and I want to get pictures of. And he'll say, oh, it's from your mouth to God's ears. Because it happens. Like with the little bobcat I showed you.
Uh-huh.
Seen a bobcat, we were hiking. And I said, I want one relaxing on a branch. We were up over this deep ravine. I said, it could be happening down there in all those pines, but I can't see it. Well, it was 6 or 7 weeks later. I look outside the second pine tree out from my dining room, and that's going on. The mama
Oh,
was there and the baby relaxing on a branch. But that's why my husband has said that, oh, well, it's from your mouth to God's ears because now a lot of times it does. And so, but I always do keep my eyes open, and he's the most patient man. We'll see something, and I'll say, he'll be driving, stop, 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 turn around. And he's just really patient, but yeah, that's what art does. Art speaks. It just speaks, and that's what you want when people come in. You want that emotional yearning and longing between the art and their heart.
right.
If it's not that, it's not really art.
Right. And that is just, I mean, those are great stories, especially when you guys aren't there that often and you just happen to be at that time. That, I mean, you can't beat it. And for, like you said, to get that actual feedback on what drives you, what beauty you guys see in the world, and you create it. And for somebody to come in and feel the same thing or feel something because you guys created it.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you for
that's the
that.
thing. Yeah,
I appreciate that, Sandy.
if it speaks to them and pulls them, that's the best. That's the best prize there.
Or even that too, and then they're inspired to go and paint. It's like, oh,
Right.
I've been wanting to do this. I need to do this, and they will often come in and share what they're doing.
Oh, wow.
That's really fun.
Yeah,
She's
that sounds special.